welcome. I know that you probably saw the title to this episode and you're like, girl, what is happening? And I promise you, it is all going to make sense. I wanted to use this story, and I don't think I've actually shared this story publicly before, to illustrate what I'm always talking about and have been saying for years now, which is that the person was professional and the profession was personal. And so a few years ago, I was in a relationship with someone. We lived together, and one night, we're getting ready for bed, and I'm sitting at my desk, typing away. I don't know, working on some content or an email, whatever, something. He was in the shower. I had an altar, and where the altar was placed, like I could see it through my peripheral vision. And so, we're like winding down. I'm like, on my laptop, and I can see that the flame of the candle that I had on the altar was like one of these like 7-day candles. The flame was like bouncing up and down. And I thought it was weird because there was no window open. It wasn't near a door. So it was like no draft. I was like, what is causing this flame to twerk? It literally looked like it was twerking. I was like, what is happening? Whatever. Didn't pay much attention to it. Still typing away. And still the flame just kind of got like it got taller and bigger, and it was like loud. I mean, as much as a flame can be loud, but you know what I mean. And I was just like, what is occurring? So I go over, I like sit in front of the altar, and I'm just like, I like say in my mind, or maybe it was out loud. I can't remember, but I just remember this thought of like, are you trying to tell me something? Like, what's happening here? And I heard, check his phone. And I was like, what the fuck? What, like, like literally, I could not make sense of the experience that I had just had because, what I heard wasn't like when when someone is in the room with you and they say something and you hear it. It wasn't that, and it wasn't like in my mind, right? Like I know what my inner thoughts sound like. I was like, what is this? It just I didn't know what it was, but it was something, right? And the thing is that he had cheated on me before, right? Like there had been infidelity, and I don't know if you know this, but infidelity and just going through any type of betrayal, whether it's from a partner, just anyone else, it can be really traumatic. And it was, the infidelity that I had survived was incredibly traumatic for me. So when I hear this, I remember my heart started beating really fast, and I'm just like, feeling super anxious. And I'm thinking to myself, right, okay, I know that, it's normal to feel anxious or nervous when your safety is threatened, when there is any thought or maybe anything that kind of feels, looks, sounds like he might be stepping out, right? So I'm like literally talking myself through this experience, like, okay, that this can happen. I'm reality testing. I'm like, okay, is there anything that is leading me to really be anxious here? And I remember I got up as I'm like having all of these thoughts in my mind. I got up, I went to the kitchen. Mind you, he's still in the shower while all of this is happening. I went to the kitchen, got some water, and I'm like, wait, there's no reason for me to be triggered right now, right? So I'm gonna go check his phone. And here's the thing, right? Like I am not the type of person or the type of partner that is out here checking emails and phones. Like if I gotta do all of that, we need not be together. We just it's too much. It's way too much. So I went and did something that I never do, and I checked his phone, and lo and behold, he was entertaining an ex. right? And then he lied about it. And so like really profusely and very intricately lied about it. And that was kind of the beginning of the end of our relationship. And I know that you're probably wondering, okay, Josie, but that thing that you heard, like, where did it come from? And that was actually how I discovered my clear audience, right? Which is one of the ways that I can connect with spirit guides, I can connect with ancestor guides, and was really one of the key moments in my own spiritual practice, which again, I promise I will go more in depth in another episode. What does this have to do with like personal development or entrepreneurship? Here it is. As I said at the beginning, the personal is professional and the professional is personal. How you do one thing is how you do most things. And the experience of leaving that painful situation and choosing myself really set me up for entrepreneurship in ways I could have never expected. Here are two of those ways. One, on the heels of that breakup, I made the biggest business investment I'd ever made, right? And what happened? Consequently, I doubled my business revenue, right? And so choosing myself personally translated to betting on myself professionally in ways that I didn't even think was possible. The second way is that that healing process really taught me my needs and wants, which I've spoken about in another episode. And that translated to learning my preferences in business. It's so important to say this explicitly because, when you start a business, it takes a bit to get to a place where you really start to think about your preferences and not just like making the money, but like how you want to serve and how you want to earn, right? At first, it's like, I just need to make X amount of money, right? Like, I have to hit this revenue goal. And then you get to a place where you're just like, wait, making X amount of dollars isn't enough, right? What's becoming even more important is how I make the money, right? And so remembering that I had options in my personal life, knowing that I can choose, knowing that I can create the type of life and the type of experiences that I wanted on the personal side really translated to the professional side, sorry, because then I could do the same thing in business, right? I could choose to create my business how I want it. I could work the hours that I wanted. I could serve the clients that I wanted. I could make the mission, whatever mission I wanted. It was just so incredibly liberating. All of the ways that I was like unpacking, uncovering, and really coming home to myself personally, it all translated to my business. And that's exactly how I lead my business. Okay. And so, that experience and my commitment to myself also helped me heal my hustle. But along, of course, with like therapy and my close group of friends and my community, right? But I think about how hard I was working in that relationship, and not just in that relationship, but in other friendships that I had at that time. It was the going, and let me prove that I'm worthy, and let me overgive, and let me overcommit, and look, don't you see that I am deserving and worthy of your love because I have overworked for it. Oh my gosh, that was what was happening in my personal life, and it happened in my professional life, right? Up until that point, exactly what I was doing in my personal life was exactly what I was doing professionally as a teacher, as a educational leader, and even at the beginning of being a therapist in private practice. And as I was unlearning, right, relearning, redefining how I wanted to show up in the world, that's exactly what happened in my business. I mean, for those of you who've been following me since the beginning, you've probably seen a shift. I even sometimes go back to like old pieces of content and I can see that version of myself. And now it's like, I do what I want. As I should, right? As you should. You should be able to do whatever it is that you want, right? That's, in my opinion, that's really the only way that entrepreneurship works, right? Like if it doesn't work for you, then it just simply doesn't work. And so, when it comes to, or rather, when I think about, how did I heal my hustle? That is still something that I'm in the process of, right? I think that, as I've shared before, just because of kind of the beliefs and the ways of being that are just embedded in our society and our culture, this is probably going to be a lifelong process, not just for me, but for a lot of us, for a lot of you, right? But I feel like I am on the other side somewhat, right? And I can pinpoint to certain things and certain experiences that I had that did help me heal my hustle. And one of them was learning to surrender. And I'm probably going to do a separate episode on this, because I think that we really need to redefine what surrendering means. And I think that, especially if you identify as a quote unquote strong Black woman, right, or like a high achiever, surrender can really feel like, ew, like we don't do that, you know? But I think that part of that comes from this this misunderstanding that surrendering is like this passive process that you just kind of sit back and like wait around. Surrendering is anything but that, right? And so part of healing my hustle really involved learning to surrender, right? It was really about releasing this like toxic control that I had on a lot of different areas of my life. And I can hold a lot of compassion and empathy for why I came to be that way, but I can also, in the same vein, hold how that was really keeping me back, right? It was holding me back, rather. It was keeping me from the things that I really wanted to do. And so surrendering was really about, again, relying more on my inner trust, relying on my intuition a little bit more, relying on the fact that, things, whatever happens is really happening for me, not necessarily to me. And, I know that that can be like a little fluffier, like woo woo, as the kids say, but and also, it was just so incredibly important, right? That I can, that I can focus on being clear on what it is that I want and going towards that without having this like white knuckle grip that it has to be this way or the highway, right? That I can be clear on what I want and still be open and flexible, that it can arrive, or I can arrive to it in, countless other ways outside of what my mind can conceive, right? So I promise I will do another separate episode all about surrendering, because I think that we need to do a better job at that, especially if you identify as a woman, especially if you identify as a woman of color. Okay, so that's one thing that I can point to that helped me heal my hustle. The other thing was really softening, right? Because have always kind of been a little type A. It's okay, I can admit it, a little controlling, but also rigid, right? And again, I can hold all the reasons why and all the experiences that led me to that, but also I knew that I had to release some of that rigidity if I wanted to allow other things and welcome and attract other things into my life. And so, a lot of that softening happened by examining the people and the circumstances that led me to be rigid in the first place, right? Having that awareness. And if you haven't noticed yet, there's always going to be a theme here around building the awareness, because, once you have the awareness, no one can take it away. Right? You can't unsee what you see. You know what I mean? But All that to say that having the awareness of, well, why did I have this white knuckle grip on certain things, or when it came to envisioning my business, envisioning my life, envisioning my legacy, like whatever it is, why does it have to be that way? Or like really asking myself these questions, so that I can really get to the root of what I really want. And once I get to the root of what I really want, then I can really open myself up to it coming in more than one way, or like, in other ways other than like what I've envisioned for myself. The other thing that really helped me heal my hustle, I swear, I sometimes feel like I'm like a broken record, but it is what it is. Um, it was healing my relationship with my body. I kind of hate to admit this, but I would say that I had a pretty careless relationship with my body, meaning that like I wasn't in tune, I kind of ate whatever. Maybe didn't drink as much water as I needed to, but like there was this carelessness, I would say. Like I just was not taking care of my body, even with it holding so much, even with it, allowing me to do and be and show up in all the different ways that I, would show up. And you know taking my body more seriously, working with a nutritionist, really learning how my body operates, paying attention, right, to how I feel when I eat certain things, not eating in front of a laptop or a screen or a TV, like whatever the case is. Like again, just like really allowed me to have a different experience, really allowed me to slow down in that stillness, right? Like in that slowing down, I just like learned, like, wait, this is what my body is supposed to feel like I've just been sprinting, I've been going for so long that I didn't even know, right? Like now I could tell the difference. I'm pretty sure that as time goes on, I'm gonna have so many other insights as to the other ways that I have healed my hustle. But those are three really big ones that are really solid, that I feel I've done just so much work around. And honestly, I feel really proud about. I want to leave you with this. As I shared, and I will say over and over and over again, yes, the personal is professional and the professional is personal. As entrepreneurs, especially, how can it not be? A lot of us, I would say the vast majority of us, small business owners, or even just like, you know, entrepreneurs who've built their businesses from the ground up, we came to this work for personal reasons. If you were going towards entrepreneurship, chances are that you were running away from something, right? We come to this work for really personal reasons, right? How we lead, how we make decisions, who we hire, the work that we do, like everything in entrepreneurship is filtered through the lens of our lived experiences, right? You cannot, despite what people on social media tell you, you cannot check your personal life at the door when you show up in your business. A lot of people try. A lot of people want to go, oh, mindset, mindset, mindset. I don't know about that. But I promise you, they're paying a price for that type of compartmentalization. I always like to leave you all with some sort of reflection questions or some journaling prompts. If you didn't know, I am a very big fan of journaling. I always recommend that folks, especially entrepreneurs, establish a ritual around journaling, right? Establish your own journaling practice. I like to journal literally like on a like daily, right? Then I do like a quick end of week like journaling situation, and then I do that monthly and then quarterly. And one of the reasons why I love to just like have so much data, if you will, but I just like love to reflect in this way, in this cadence, is because at this point I am able to pinpoint kind of where I was professionally with what was happening for me professionally, right? I can go back when I had like really great like revenue quarters or like months or whatever. I can go back and see what was happening in my life. How was like Josie personally as a person? How was I doing? And how did that correlate? How did that translate? How did that impact to strong months, right? When I hired, where was I, emotionally, personally? When I've had to let people go, was I emotionally, personally? Like, I am now at this point able to, like, without fault, actually, like, see a parallel. It just goes to show how much who we are and how we are in the world impacts how we lead and how we are in business. That's what I have for y'all. I hope you enjoyed this episode and, stuck with me until the end. I hope that it makes sense kind of why I shared that story. And yeah, I would really, really invite y'all to start a journaling practice. And it doesn't have to be like, a dissertation. Your journaling practice could literally be bullet points. Make it work for you because, as I shared, if it doesn't work for you, it simply doesn't work. I'll see you on the next episode. Take good care of yourselves.